Hey everyone, and welcome to another video of Eat Well with Allergies. So today we're going to be making tea scones. Now I probably know what you're thinking, tea scones, those are so boring. Well, these don't really have anything to them. They're basically a combination of flour, sugar, cream tartar, baking soda, salt, butter, eggs, and milk. So not much flavor to them. But I'm going to be adding some dried berries and some chocolate chips to them. So you're going to need, and this bowl is a lot larger than you'll actually need. I'm actually doubling this recipe because my family eats a lot of desserts. So for the dry ingredients, you're going to want to sift all of these together. So you're going to want to sift together 2 cups of flour, half a cup of sugar, 2 teaspoons of cream of tartar, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 3/4 teaspoons of salt. Now because my eggs are basically a powder and you mix water into them, I also sifted my eggs into this. So for the wet ingredients, it's basically butter and milk. You're going to want half a cup of butter and half a cup of milk. Very simple. So first you are going to mix together the butter and milk to kind of break up that lump of butter. So let me turn, and before we get started, let me put my hair up. My hair goes everywhere, and plus is extremely thick. So I don't want this into, like a 6-inch long piece of hair into a bit of scone. So let me just do that. Okay, that's better. So let me start my video on this end. So I have the butter and milk in there, and I'm gonna just whip that up a little. Because that butter is a hard lump. Another secret for scones is you want the ingredients as cold as possible. So if you want to, you can add the butter into the freezer for a little while. Because I don't want to get splashed in the face with dry ingredients. So I'm just gonna mix up these dry ingredients a little bit. That little scraping sound is the sugar at the bottom. And this bowl is probably still a little wet from my sister using it. So let me lower that a little bit. Change the direction of the paddle. There we go. Now I'm going to add some dry ingredients. Oh, I forgot to mention that you're going to also need 2 eggs. I forgot to mention that. And you don't want to mix this too much, so just as it's coming together, add more dry ingredients. And now I'm going to add the rest of the dry ingredients. Adding dry ingredients to a mixer is very difficult. Much more difficult than it should be. So, watch out for the bombardment of flour. Okay, now I'm going to mix it by hand a little bit. Once I get all of this off. So just get all of that you can off the paddle, and then we'll clean that later. Okay, so as you can see, it's sort of a dough, but I'm gonna mix it by hand. So let me just adjust that. Okay, so it's sort of already, but I'm gonna mix it by hand because you don't want the flour to develop. So as you can see, the butter hasn't gone into all the flour. So let me just get all that butter into it. Let me wash my hands real quick and then I'll mix it with the spatula. Okay, that's a little disgusting. that's cold water. Just let me dry my hands. We'll get back to it. So let me grab my spatula, get all of that up. I think that's all I can do. Last time I made these, they turned out well, but they didn't taste like anything. So as you can see, it's kind of a dough. You just have to mix that little bit of flour into it. So I'm gonna do that, get that sort of in, and then get some of that unused flour. Okay, it's almost there. Just have a little more flour that I have. I'm gonna try and get and put into the dough. Okay, now that's a dough. Okay, now I'm going to wash my hands again real quick. Soap and dough is a disgusting combination. And I'm freezing my hands because I don't want to leave you off the camera very long. That is very, very cold water. It is still very much winter. Okay, so get all of that. Now I'm going to move this pan that I have prepared. And I'm gonna kind of roll it out onto my surface. Now, some people might use flour, but that just goes into the dough and dries it up. I'm gonna use powdered sugar to add a little sweetness, and it keeps it from sticking. So, let me try and get this over here. And try and get all these little bits from the bottom. Because you couldn't do that before, because the dough was on top of it. Okay, now I'm going to move the tripod over here. I think you all can see that. So, just turn it over a little bit with all the powdered sugar, coat that, and we'll get rolling. So, you want to roll this into a 1/2 inch thick. You want to be careful in rolling because you don't want to work it too much. So just gently roll it out. Oh, I completely forgot. I'm actually going to take a knife to 1/2 of this and mix dried berries into 1/2 and chocolate chips to another 1/2. So I'm just going to mix those in. So I'm just going to take this up in my hand so it doesn't stick and keep adding berries until it's completely stuffed with berries. And I actually just have like cranberries, dried cherries, and some raisins in here. I have a lot of dried fruit. I need some more powdered sugar on here. Okay, I think it needs a little more fruit. So I'm just gonna make a well in here to add some fruit and drop some fruit in there. Now, if you wanted, you could add fruit to each individual scone. I guess you could do that, but it's just a little more tedious than mixing it into the whole dough. As you can see, it's entirely covered in powdered sugar, but that thing is stuffed with berries, which is going to be so good. That little tart note to half of it will be, oh, so delicious. Okay, so I have my dough again, at least that half. Now I'm going to roll this out into 1/2 inch thick. Okay, you can see all the berries into this. So I'm going to try and make it as round as possible. I think that's 1/2 inch thick, maybe a little more. Now I'm going to cut it into triangles, because that's what it says to do. Because you don't want to roll this out any more than you have to. So I'm going to cut this into triangles, try and cut through those berries, which is very hard to do actually, because they're dried and have no liquid whatsoever. And I have an uneven triangle. So I'm just going to cut these into triangles, kind of cut each one into its own triangle. And if there's a berry, if you're using berries, if there's a berry stuck on your knife, just push it to one side of the dough. Or if you can, just try and cut through it. Okay, so one more slice and I have a triangle. Okay, so I have my little triangle. Now let me go get my pan. That just says to cook on parchment. So I have some parchment paper here. I finally have parchment paper. Last week was tedious to clean all of these trays. So let me move this over here by the sink now. So I'm just gonna place these on. I'm gonna put them a little bit apart because they might spread because they have some baking soda in them. So I'm just gonna, they're about 2, 4, 5, they're about 8 triangles, so I can fit that. So, have some fruit in here, have some powdered sugar by association. Just try and cram those last 2 pieces in. I think that powdered sugar worked out better than flour would. I would usually do that on like shortbread. And, okay, so I am going to bake this at 350 degrees for about 14 minutes. So it says 13 to 15 minutes, but as you know, I kind of go in between that. So I'm gonna bake these for 350 for 14 minutes. And then while that's happening, I'll roll out the other dough. So I can just automatically switch them. So, back over here for you. Try and get some of that powdered sugar up. If you didn't know, powdered sugar is basically just sugar finely blended. Okay, now I'm going to create a ball of this dough again and stuff chocolate chips into it. Hopefully my brothers will eat it then. My brothers will not eat anything with fruit. Well, a couple of them might, but one of my brothers does not like fruit at all. So anything I make with fruit, he does not eat. So I'm just gonna create a well in here for chocolate chips. And this is just about a cup of chocolate chips, I think. And they're like mini chocolate chips. So I'm gonna have chocolate chips everywhere. Gonna add more chocolate chips. I'm just doing it by the handful to see if it has enough chocolate chips. Now it's basically become like a chocolate chip cookie, except it doesn't have brown sugar. So one more handful of chocolate chips and we'll be good to go. With my family, it's either no chocolate or all chocolate. Except for my dad, weirdly. He likes chocolate, but he he's at a level where if it's like triple chocolate fudge brownie with hot fudge sauce, then he says it's too rich. So he, at a level of chocolateness, he's just like, why? It's too rich. Why do I want to eat this? So then my brothers eat it. Like my brother Caleb made chocolate chip, he made brownies a couple days ago, and he put some white chocolate and some dark chocolate in it, because it says chocolate chips, but it doesn't say which kind of chocolate chips. So he just added some white chocolate and some regular chocolate, and my dad said it was too rich. So now everyone else got more. So it kind of looks like a chocolate chip cookie. So I think that's about ½ an inch thick. So I'm just gonna, hopefully I can do this better. So I'm just gonna cut through half. Then cut through half again. Yes, I was measuring with my hand, so I was not cutting through my hand, but I'm getting more even triangles. So just cut through each personal one. Hopefully this will be enough chocolate for my brothers. I can't stuff any more chocolate into this. Okay, so I'm just gonna roll out another piece of parchment for these to put on while the others are cooking. Over here, actually. I'm running out of space. I need to clean up. So I'm just gonna move. Parchment, don't slide off the table. I'm running out of space here. I'm putting stuff everywhere. So you can see that. So I'm just gonna move these chocolate chip scones to this piece of parchment. And when the other ones are done cooking, we'll cook these for 14 minutes. And you do want to separate these a little bit. Yes, this one is slanted. It doesn't matter. So just separate them a little, and you will have probably, if you do 8 triangles, you'll have a little extra. So just do it like that as you can. They kind of look like Christmas trees, actually. So I'm gonna clean up, and I have 9 minutes to do it. My hands are a mess. They're covered in powdered sugar, water, which means they're sticky. So I'll see you in about 9 minutes when I take them out and switch the other ones. And then I'll show you how to make a water icing to top them. I'll see you in about 9 minutes. Okay, so we have about a minute left on the timer. And I actually just found out while I turned off the video, my mom was getting her coffee, and she was wondering what kind of recipe I had. So I said tea scones, and we have this box full of recipes, and she said, oh, Grandma's recipe. My grandmama's, her mom. And it actually turns out that her violin teacher's husband actually originally had the recipe, and his name was Henry Wallace. So I actually am making Henry Wallace's tea scones, which I did not think. I thought it was just my grandma's. So we have about 30 seconds left on this, and I have, see how they're looking. Oh, those look good. So while the other ones are baking, I'll show you how to make what my grandma calls a hot water icing. So we add hot water and powdered sugar. So let me just get a little bowl for that. We have multiple little bowls, little metal bowls that I use. So let me just take those out real quick, and then we'll get on to the water icing. Oh, those look delicious. And they do spread a little. So if one blended into another one, but as you can see, it's not that bad. You can just move that a little bit. So I'm just gonna slide those off onto a cold surface, and then get these on. Do not hot pan, by the way. I think it's assumed, but some people still do it accidentally. Okay, so hopefully these won't blend together. So let me clean up the surface real quick. I have powdered sugar everywhere, and I'm about to have more powdered sugar. So let me put 14 minutes on this, and then I'll show you how to make a hot water icing. So let me just get into my iPod here, which is about to die soon. iPods are not very reliable on. Okay, so I want some very, very hot water. So I'm just going to get a few tablespoons. And if I need more, then I'll just get more. So I'm just going to pour powdered sugar into here and get a whisk. Yes, I will need that much powdered sugar. I guarantee you. So we'll just have a little whisk and we'll start this. And this will depend on the thickness you want it. It's totally on your opinion. This is a very nice drippy icing. And if you put it on hot on the scones, then it will blend into it and it'll just be a sugary mess. Some people like that sugary mess. It depends on the thing for me. I didn't even have it in the thing. So now this is my kind of icing. Thick and delicious. Even if it is hot water and powdered sugar. And if you want to add some extract, you can. I don't have vanilla currently because my brother. But I would actually just blend this so all those little lumps of powdered sugar get out, which is very hard to do with this kind of whisk. But it's a nice, luscious, and actually, hold on, I'm getting a creative moment. I have some food coloring that I have not been able to use, so let me just find a color that I can use. Let me just ask my mom what's the best color. Mom, what would be the best color icing?
It's green. You can do it pastel colors.
Like green, blue?
Pink, light colors.
Oh, I have a rose.
Oh, rose would be nice.
I have pink. I'm going to do a pink icing. I'm having a creative moment. So I'm just going to get a little, and I actually haven't opened this yet, so watch out for dyeing your fingers. If you want to use like food coloring, you can. I have, for those, for rainbow cookies, I had to use food coloring. So I had Mom get me some like gel food coloring. So I'm just going to get that back a little and then just get a little in. And then just put that knife there. And then just blend it into a nice pink. That's much better than getting into dough. Oh man, that color. That color is precious. So I'm just going to do a little bit more. A little more. One more. I really like my colors. Oh, look at that color. That color is amazing. And I got stuff on my finger. Whenever I handle dyes, those are also my worst enemy. Like, everything that I can mess up on my person is, I have now dyed my finger. Flour, powdered sugar, and dye. Well, that's our icing. Nice pink water icing. And that will harden a little bit over 10 minutes. Hopefully it's already cooled down, so that's a nice icing. And I'll wait for these to cool a little bit more to spread it. And I'll just try and move these a little bit. These actually are not quite done, so I'm gonna, let's see, what can I do? I'm gonna end that video. So these are not actually technically done. That one is, but these bigger ones aren't technically done, so I might just figure out which ones are done and put the other ones back in the oven. That one isn't, that one isn't. If it bends, you can tell it's not done. But those 3 are. So I'm gonna get a cooling rack. So many containers. We have so many Tupperware containers, it's not even funny. Okay, so that is done. I'm gonna move the ones that are done onto a cooling rack. And these have cooled a little bit, but they aren't totally cool yet. Now I'm just gonna, I put this in a Ziploc bag and just kind of tipped it upward so I don't have to get icing on the scissors. So I'm just gonna make a little snip. Because this is a very thin water icing, you want to make a very, very little slip. So just gently do it around the border because you don't want it to run over. And then just gently make like a triangle around it. And then just try and get it as far around as you can without it falling off. And then that will drip a little bit. Now for the next one, you just do the same thing. And because it's a water icing, it will kind of drip a little bit. It'll go down. So you don't want it, because you can see it's dripping a little bit. The powdered sugar will kind of stop that a little bit because the sugar will harden. Just gently get it around. And some people might dip these or something. I'm not. I don't want to. I like being a little precise in my icing. Then just try and figure out which way you want to do it, and then just do it. And yep, that's dripping. And those are still too hot to do. So I'll put the icing back in the cup that I have and wait for those to cool. And I'll take those out in about 3 minutes. Hopefully this doesn't drop more icing. In fact, I'm gonna get a plate for the ones that I already iced, and I'm gonna get a paper towel because some of them have dripped a little bit. So I'm gonna take a paper towel and wipe off the edge of them and kind of slide them that side. Hopefully they won't drip more. That was the only one that dripped because I pushed it a little further than I wanted. So as you can see, it's a nice pink color. It's a nice pink one. And I'll wait until these, actually I'm gonna, as you can see there, it's a nice brown color. So I'm gonna move these to the cooling rack. And on the bottom, you see that little layer of powdered sugar. So, and this one was kind of on the edge, and it bent over the baking tray, so that one's a little more bent than I wanted. Okay, so I just checked them, and they're golden brown, and I'm just gonna stop that timer and stop the oven. My water bottle. You have to stay hydrated during these things. And I'm just gonna take those out. They're golden brown now. Just check the biggest one, and it's golden brown. And if you wanna make them a little more cooked, you can leave them on the pan, and the residue heat will get into those and do that. And I'm just gonna let those cool, ice them like I did the rest of them, and I'll be done. So that is the video. Next week I will be making crispy chocolate chip cookies. I know, it's a mouthful. I guess it would be quadruple C, crispy chocolate chip cookies. So there's that. And my family will actually finish eating something. Last week, my father couldn't stop eating those cranberry muffin tops that I made. But next week it will be my brother's. You can't stop eating the crispy chocolate chip cookies. Chocolate chips for them are life. So please like, share, subscribe, visit my my Facebook channel, or let me rephrase that. Visit my Facebook page. There we go. And I don't know if there's anything else. Like, subscribe, follow, share, please share. My mother's the only one sharing my stuff, so please share. And I'll see you next week for crispy chocolate chip cookies. Bye.